Supernatural is all about family, but have you ever noticed that most of the characters of the show had messed up childhoods? In a three-parted video of Man of Letters reports, we're gonna take a look at the worst things that our favorite characters have been through growing up, and how their lives and their perspectives have been affected by them. Just a warning before we begin, there's gonna be huge spoilers ahead, so be careful. Sam and Dean Winchester. We like John and Mary, and we all know how much they care about Sam and Dean, but there's no doubt that these boys had messed up childhoods. Mary died when Dean was 4 and Sam was only 6 months old, so she really didn't have a chance to do much. Although it seems like she did a good job back then, let's not forget that she started all of this. If she hadn't made that deal with Azazel, none of this would have happened. She put her sons in danger, got herself killed, and caused them to become hunters. I know she did it to save the love of her life and never thought it would end up like that, but still, we can't ignore it. And after Mara brought her back in season 11, she wasn't much of a mother to them either. Yes, it's a weird situation. Everything has changed, her boys are grown-up men now, and it's a lot to take in. But they are still her sons. She might think there's nothing she can do for them now, but that's not true. They are alone and damaged, and they really need their mother. And although she's ready to give her life for them, there are times that she breaks their hearts, and she's not there when she's needed, and most of the time they're worrying and trying to save her. Maybe she's distant because the boys are hunters, and that's the last thing she wanted for them. But that's not their fault. They're just doing the best they can, and they deserve better.
We're your sons, and you've been gone. Our whole lives, you've been gone.
I'm trying.
How about for once, you just try and be a mom?
She loves them, but the more we get to know her, the more we realize how different she is from the perfect mother the boys had in mind. That she's more of a hunter than a mother, and the boys mostly have no mom. John gave not only his life, but also his soul for his sons. Literally. But the way he raised the boys damaged them for life. Again, I know he lost the love of his life and found out there are monsters out there, and everything he did was because he wanted to protect his sons and get revenge and save people's lives. But the way he raised those kids like warriors is just wrong. The pressure he put on Dean and treating him as a soldier took away his chance to be a happy and carefree child. While he was growing up, he believed his job was doing whatever his father said, fighting monsters and, most importantly, taking care of Sammy. And I think these beliefs were the reason for all these suicidal attitudes that Dean shows, or the fact that he doesn't care about himself and feels the weight of the world on his shoulders. Because he never learned to take care of himself, to care about what he wants, and how to dream for himself. So as a grown-up, no matter how much he tries, he always feels like he's failing because you can never save everyone.
I guess that's what I do. I let down the people I love. I let Dad down. And now I guess I'm just supposed to let you down too?
Although Sam had Dean to take care of him and help him experience some sort of carefree childhood for a few years, as Sam many times mentions it, John always blamed him for wanting a normal life and made him feel like a freak and not accepted by his family, and he always felt like a disappointment and carried that to his adulthood. That feeling of being wrong and not being good enough is still one of his biggest problems, and it all started with his father.
I screwed up with you a lot, didn't I? No, that's okay. No, it's not. I am so sorry. I'm sorry too.
And although now it is very heartwarming to hear John saying how proud of them he is, it's not gonna mend their broken pieces. And of course we should mention Bobby. He was a father figure to Sam and Dean, helped them in countless occasions and was there for them after the boys lost their father. And although he was also there when they were younger and was more caring and kind than their actual father, he wasn't really present when they were kids and had a bigger influence on their lives as an adult. He was far from perfect, but still the best support and parental figure they ever had. Mary Winchester. We don't see much of her childhood, but when Dean goes back in time and meets his grandparents and finds out about them being hunters, lots of things start making sense. We know how hunters are, and as Dean says,
Hunters are never kids.
so Mary grew up as a hunter. I don't know about her mother, but from what we see later of Samuel, he's not really father material, and the way he treats his family like soldiers makes us miss John.
You know the worst thing I can think of? The very worst thing is for my children to be raised into this like I was.
This way of growing up might not really affect the way she treats her family when she's younger, but after she's back to life and actually has a chance to be a mother to her boys, she tragically fails. She doesn't know what to do because she didn't learn much, so she goes back to her safe place, hunting. And she does what she learned, going on a hunt and sometimes checking on the kids. That's not good parenting, but that's the best she can do. This failure in being a mother is more apparent when we see her with Jack. But let's talk about that when we get there. So overall, Mary's childhood wasn't really that bad, but it was messed up enough to explain her failure as a parent. John Winchester. Again, we don't see much of his childhood and we don't know anything until season 8. But when the boys meet up with their grandfather Henry, we see yet again another parent who loves their kid but messes up their lives by not being there for them. It's not Henry's fault. He didn't plan on going to the future and getting killed there and leaving his son alone, but it happened anyway. John was so young when he lost his father and never had a proper father figure to teach him how to be one. To make matters worse, he also always thought his father has left his family and didn't care about them, or never loved him. That made him keep such resentment in his heart that he never wanted to talk about it. That creates deep scars on a kid that will haunt him for the rest of his life.
You think it would have made a difference?
What?
Dad. If he'd had his own father around.
What, and how he raised us? Sammy, he did the best he could.
I know that. I do. They all did.
But still, with all of that, it makes you wonder what sort of father he could be if he hadn't lost his wife like that. Maybe he would become an amazing dad, trying to do whatever he expected from his father, always being there for his sons and prepare a happy and safe environment for them. But sadly, with everything that happens and his obsession with hunting monsters and taking revenge, he sees only the dark side of the world and takes the light out of the boys' lives. And with Adam, actually, let's talk about that now. Adam Milligan. There is no arguing that Adam had a better upbringing than other Winchester boys. But that still doesn't mean that life was all sunshine and rainbows for him. John took a different approach to raise Adam. He lied and tried to keep him in the dark and protect him from a hunter's life. Maybe because he thought Adam might have a chance of having a normal, happy life. He had his mom, and John would show up once in a while for a baseball game and all would be fine. It was already too late for Sam and Dean, but John could do it right this time and give Adam a good, monster-free life. What could possibly go wrong? But apart from all the horrible things that happened to him later and ruined the poor kid's life, even as a child, life was not so great. Yes, his father showed up sometimes and they had fun, but he was mostly absent, which is completely expected from John. But you can imagine that probably most of Adam's childhood was him waiting for his dad to show up. So again, he had it better than his brothers, but still not that well.
You're still John's boy. No, John Winchester was some guy who took me to a baseball game once a year. I don't have a dad.
And we really should mention that if John let the boys know about each other and be in contact and form a relationship, then maybe the I do anything for my family Winchester brothers wouldn't leave Adam to rot in the cage, because that wasn't fair at all. Poor Adam.
What happened to you? You're a good man. You didn't deserve that.
Since when do we get what we deserve?
Eileen Leahy. When she was a baby, she lost her parents as well as her hearing to a banshee. Then a hunter found and adopted her, so Eileen has been raised as a hunter. Losing your parents at such a young age and not having any memory of them is tough enough. Now imagine not being able to hear anything as well, and knowing that all of those things have been done by a monster. Growing up in a hunter's life, we all know how that could be, and being trained to kill monsters are the perfect elements of a messed up childhood. Even her adoptive mother died of cancer when she was 16, so she was alone since then and had to face the world and all the dark creatures that live in the shadows all by herself.
And you've been on your own ever since?
I prefer walking alone. Trust issues.
Yeah, I know.
Eileen turned out to be a strong and smart woman, but spending your whole life obsessing over revenge is not really an ideal life, but very common for a good hunter. Mick Davies. We didn't get to see much of Mick. All we know about his childhood is just the flashback scene and a few lines, but that was enough to put him on this list. Mick was orphaned at an early age and spent some time living on the streets until he pickpocketed a member of the British Men of Letters and accidentally stole a cursed coin. Then they saw the potential within him and sent him to Kendrick's Academy, which is basically Hogwarts when Umbridge was in charge. Although Mick learned a lot of useful things there that helped him be so good at his job, they brainwashed their kids to be so obedient that they did things exactly by the code. This stuck with him for years until he met the Winchester boys, and they showed him a different way and told him that you should think for yourself and to not be someone's puppet. So now that he sees free will and rebelling against the code as an option, he keeps remembering the things he has done when he was younger and feels very guilty about it. The one memory that haunts him the most is when he and his best friend Timothy were called to the headmistress's office and were left there with a knife and were told that only one of them can leave the room alive. We're talking about children here. Timothy wanted them to run away together, but Mick did what he has been told to do and killed his best friend because that was the order, thereby it must be the right thing to do. But this, and probably lots of similar things that he and other kids, like Arthur Ketch, have had to do, left a dark hole in their souls that eats them for the rest of their lives.
The code is what makes a young boy kill his best friend. When I was a child, I had nothing. I owed you everything, and I obeyed. But I'm a man now, Dr. Hess, and I can see the choices. And I choose to do the right thing.
Jo Harvelle. Again, a kid born in a hunter family. Losing her father on a hunt when she was very young affected her deeply and made her so eager to become a hunter and follow her dad's footsteps. Also, growing up in the roadhouse, which is where hunters hang out all the time, is definitely not helping her mother Ellen to keep her away from being a hunter. So, although they fight a lot in the beginning, Ellen finally accepts that there's no way to keep her away from this life. In Jo's mind, this was a normal life, and she always knew this is what she wants to do. She had a house and a protective mother who kept her safe as long as she could, but losing her father at a young age and growing up listening to monster stories and being very aware of all the evil things is not really an ideal childhood. And she spends most of her adulthood trying to prove her mother, other hunters, and herself that she can be a good hunter and make her father proud.
You want to know why I want to do the job? For him. It's my way of being close to him. Now tell me what's wrong with that.
So this was the first part of our take on this subject. Let us know what you think and what you agree and disagree with in the comments. Be sure to watch the next parts where we talk about Crowley, Jack, the Heavenly Families, and more. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our videos with your friends.